Greetings, comrades, with all protocols observed. Following on yesterday's video where I looked at the older versions of Kerbal Space Program, specifically 0.7 and 0.13, I thought today, what could I do? There's so many games out there, but I was really enthralled by actually going back to Kerbal Space Program 0.13.3, as you can see in the bottom right there, and actually succeeding at the goal which I set for myself in the previous video, which is to actually land on the moon and return successfully back to Kerbal, which of course did not happen last time. So let's go, let's try it. You know, I like to complete things, so it just makes sense that this is indeed a worthy goal and is, I think, also the culmination of really what you can do in this very old version of Kerbal Space Program, because there are no planets or anything like that. So returning from the moon is really the pinnacle of your space program in this stage. Which is quite appropriate because for many people that's still the first goal really is to go and land on the moon. So let's start again. I'm going to take all the lessons from yesterday's video into this one, which is that number one, we actually need the SAS module in order to activate the SAS talk. So first part is of course command module there, a command pod, that's the only one that we have. And the usual, which is the parachute. I'm going to also add a bit of music, I think, from the YouTube. They've got a collection of music that you can add for free onto your videos, just so it's not so bland. You know, it's just me talking and then here and there you hear some of the sound effects. But I think that will just add a bit of flavor. Anyway, there's the pod now, and we have the parachute, so all is good there. And we want it to separate. And I think there's a couple of experiments that I need to do before we can really launch for the moon. So that's the difference also. We didn't do enough preparation last time. And obviously preparation is the key to success. We only have 2 engines. That is really going to be a limiting factor because the weight of the engines is the same. Total mass 2, total mass 2. That means, let's say this is our lunar vehicle. There we go, we land, and now we return home. This engine here is really too heavy and too powerful for the job that it has to do. Unfortunately, we don't have a choice, so working around that is going to be the key. Another thing that I think is very important to keep in mind that I experienced yesterday, and of course, as you could see, there was no possibility of staying upright on the moon once I landed there because we have no landing legs or struts or something like that. So that will be a key challenge to overcome. But I'm all about overcoming challenges, so let's do that. I also want to add the RCS fuel tank again. It does, of course, bring its weight with it, but it does help to just maneuver around a bit. We've got to have the thruster block as well, and I'm just going to X until we get 4. Then, very important, the SAS module is something that was missing yesterday. I was just looking at the torque, and this capsule has its own torque, but it doesn't have any way to actually lock it in place. And obviously this is what this module is for. The side effect of that is, of course, that we're bringing this whole thing now. This is really the payload that needs to go to the moon and come back as well. So there we go. I hope this is going to be enough. I have no delta V indicators or anything. I'm not even going to try to find some mods for this old version of the game. I mean, this is at least 5 years old now. So it's I'm sure you can find mods, but it's just really not worth it for me. The challenge is to actually just succeed with what I've got. So that is there, I think, a good approximation of what we really want. The problem now, of course, was landing on any uneven surface is going to throw you off immediately. We've got a way to control the SAS now, but I want to see if it's possible to actually add tanks to the bottom. That's not even going to work because the engine is still bigger than that, and there's no offset control here. So the only thing I can do is literally add more, so that will be a nice base for us to land on, but I can't empty the fuel tanks because we can't right click on anything, and that won't really work, so that's not a good plan. And let me see, a possibility around that could be, since we do have the external fuel ducts, if this is just our return stage, let's say this is now once we've landed on the moon and we want to come home, that's the return. So I just want to add the decoupler to that stage. Once the engine ignites, it must immediately release the decoupler. I also want to add some more of these RCS thrusters just to give a bit more control. It's overkill, but that's alright. Then a challenge. Let's see if I can take the LVT. 45 is more than enough. Put it there with no fuel tank, of course, and this decoupler would not be allowing fuel to pass through, and there's no setting to actually change that. But this is where a bit of clever engineering comes in. I think if I can attach some of these to the outside and actually duplicate that, it's very precarious because the exhaust of the engine is right next to the four fuel tanks, but I think it'll be okay. What's the impact tolerance? 6. So as long as we land under 6 meters per second, this configuration will be perfectly fine. Unfortunately, this means that we're going to have a very heavy payload to get to Kerbal orbit, but I'm sure we can manage that. The goal then for this really is, I think this would be more than enough to actually get us into lunar orbit or mooner orbit, and of course deorbit us and land us. This must be enough because we can't use the upper stage for the actual landing because we'll just fall over, and thus we have solved no problems. This might also be enough to actually do the translunar injection from Kerbal orbit. So if that's possible, I think we're not going to end with too much weight, hopefully. Let's just see if I put these fuel ducts like that. It should actually allow us to make use of that fuel as long as the engine is in the same stage there. Struts are absolutely vital, especially in this version of the game, but of course it still is in the modern version as well. And I'm just going to add it to the top there. Doesn't look very nice, but at least it's practical, I think. It should be anyway. So before we do anything, let me just save this and then we will test this version just to make sure that we've got the principles right. So this will be the Vanguard of Progress Mark II. Save. Alright, let's launch and okay, what's the bottom here? Those are the actual struts. So the struts actually appear on the menu here. It doesn't really matter, but let's just see what happens. Okay, there we go. Bill, Jeb and Bob all ready to go. And full thrust only with the shift key. SAS and... okay, obviously not enough thrust to get us off of the surface of Kerbal, but the principle is sound. It works. The fuel is obviously being transferred there. You can see it's all being drained nice and evenly, so I think we'll manage. If I can just resume end flight. Okay, so there is no revert to launch or to the assembly building, but hopefully it's not going to delete it. There we go. So this is our payload for translunar injection. Now we have to work with that. Again, because we don't see delta V readouts, we don't know how much it is exactly, but I hope that it will be enough. I just want to actually add some more of these thrusters. I know it's really overkill, but it just will make things so much easier. Okay, let's see. Next thing, of course, the decoupler. Now I have a choice. Do I continue with the central stack or do I actually continue with the 4x stack? I think it might actually help if we continue with the 4x. I don't know. Oh dear, that doesn't look good. Nope, no. Nope, don't want that super flashing. I guess maybe the first one, that will be good enough. So let's just continue with that, the first or central stack there, and then put a tank there. Now we can of course expand it. The question is, what do? We actually can do some asparagus staging, but I don't trust these radial decouplers as I saw in that very early version. I'm sure they fixed it by this version, 0.13, but these things are so wobbly. They are more like jelly than anything else. So I want to be very careful to reinforce everything. I just have to decide now. So I think we need now an orbital insertion stage, the upper stage of the booster itself, and for that I think, let's say 3 of those maybe. It's going to be difficult because right now we have to actually get enough thrust to insert us into orbit. So what if I do this and I quadruple it, but I don't make it detachable? Just like that. And then we attach 4 of the LVT-45s. They are the weaker engine, but they are also maneuverable, or they have a gimbal at least. 1.0, the other one does not have thrust vectoring. So this could at least help us with that, I think. It should. I'm wondering if I shouldn't add another another engine there in the middle. These are almost like, if you compare it to the Saturn V, if it will work now. Nope. Very finicky, of course, these very early stages. Let me try the 30. Yes, that works. That's fine. Good enough. If you compare it maybe in a sense to the Saturn V, then this will be the upper stage, or actually the middle stage of the stack, which was, of course, the 5 J2 engines. In this case, it would be maybe 4 J2s and 1 F1, but anyway. Let's add a stack decoupler to this. And now do some more clever engineering. But before I do that, I wonder now, this central stack, is it going to burn evenly or not? Does it say burn rate is 8, burn rate is 7? So that means the central one with the bigger engine is going to burn out before the others. But that's fine because the outer ones have the gimbal and I really want them to last longer. So it's perfect. Then the actual liftoff stage. I'm not sure what to do here. Let's say 3, and then we put 4 on the outside, and then just those LVT-30s, I think. Yes, LVT-30s. I'm not sure if this will actually be enough. We might need solid boosters, but we can test it. That's the joy of it. Let's just make sure everything is connected and strengthened and so on, because a wobble is not a welcome thing here. Something more or less like that. I just want to add something to this as well. Okay, decent, I think. Quite a strange rocket, of course, but we must work with what we've got, which is actually very nice, because this forces you to be so focused in what you want to achieve. You have to absolutely keep your goal in mind. You've got very little unnecessary parts to play with. Nothing is, of course, unnecessary, but I'm talking about the specific mission now. So you just have to make use of what you've got, and you've got to make it work. Don't want to attach it to the engines. Okay. I don't know if this will be good enough. Let me just save it and launch. Okay, we've got some sound effects happening. Oh dear. No, 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 no. Don't kill people, please. Vehicle assembly. What happened there? You could see it was folding from the middle here. Perhaps we need to have these connections to the engines. It's too much weight pressing straight down onto the stack here. Okay, I don't have that choice here, but let me just connect that. Okay. Question, of course, is, can these bottom engines sustain the weight on the launch pad, which is probably where the problem also comes in, but I don't have launch clamps, so that's what we've got to work with. I'm actually going to just ignite. Okay, so we know it's not nearly strong enough. Okay, just end. But you know that saying, there's no problem that more rockets can't fix. So we add more rockets. Now I'm going to add the radial decouplers. I'm going to stick with liquid fuel for this one. I know it's not super necessary, but it's just a bit more controllable, I think. So LVT 30s, basically I want to have more thrust here, but less fuel. Not less fuel, but you see what I'm getting at. I don't want to replicate the 3 tanks stack with the outer ones here. They must just burn for a very short time, get us moving, and actually by the time they drop, we'll have burnt off some of our fuel in the central stack, which will make us lighter, and thus at least we should have a thrust to weight ratio that's good enough. I must just make sure everything is connected, and we've got struts everywhere. Okay, very strange rocket. And I see now it's not exactly even there, but that's okay. These things I just have to make sure now I must move all of them to the correct stage. They must all fire at the same time. Even these struts, I'm moving them up. Okay, save, launch. Great, we are on our way. I don't want to wait on the launch pad in case things start falling apart again, so that's why I had such a quick launch. We've definitely got the stability that I was hoping for with that SAS module. Okay, too much. I'm not going to turn the RCS on yet. It's not necessary, I think. Come on. I made a mistake of turning over way too soon. Yes, I think we're going to have to abandon. The stack is falling over now. And I can't right click on that decoupler, so literally we'll have to go through the whole set of stages. There's no abort yet. And there it goes. Hundreds of millions of Kerbal bucks, I'm sure, into the fake ocean. I wonder, is this actually still a fake ocean, or is this now a real ocean? I remember that very early release 0.7, it wasn't a real ocean. It's moving, but the other one was also moving, but it was a hard surface. Let's just see. Time warp? Yes, okay, we've got that. It seems like such a luxury because that really early one didn't even have time warp. Sounds like an ocean. Yes, okay, so Kerbal has at least got an ocean now. Alright, I think there's no sense for us to wait the whole time. Let's just go back to the assembly building and save again and relaunch, but this time wait until 10 kilometers before turning over, which was the old convention before the new aerodynamics kicked in. Alright, okay, we're at least stable on the launch pad, so I can do it a bit more ceremoniously, I think. It's time for a screenshot. There we go. And, well, what words can we say? Kerbal Space Program has come such a long way since its early days, but I think the most successful element really is that it still maintains that spirit of adventure and ingenuity and trying to find solutions with the parts that you've got. That's also, I think, one of the benefits of playing with as few mods as possible, because it really forces you to think outside the box. I mean, it's easy to get a mod that gives you a part specifically and then it fills that role and that's it. But if you've got to make it up as you go along, that's a much more difficult prospect, and I think more rewarding as well. Anyway, there we go. I've spoken long enough. 3, 2, 1, ignition. Okay, just stay stable. We're listing a little bit to the west, but I think as long as we keep it stable, mostly it'll be alright. I'm also glad they removed that overthrust thing that was in 0.7. That would have just been so difficult if you had to make sure the whole time you didn't set your thrust to 100%. There's remarkably little wobble. I wonder if I should be worried. Okay, we're going too far to the south here. Separation. And you can see our speed is dropping immediately. That's also where we went wrong last time. By having such a low prograde vector to the horizon, when the speed dropped, so did we. Of course, if I put more fuel on those boosters, then the whole thing will slow down even more, defeating the purpose of having those boosters. So the thing is just to get a balance right now. As long as we can keep it going about 45 degrees, it's fine. Come on. As it burns fuel, of course, it will start getting lighter and lighter, and the thrust to weight ratio will go up. Let's get some of that RCS. Really terrible. I think I'll see it through. I'm not going to revert at this point. I want to see what happens. No, it's tilting over and I can't control it anymore. Okay, it's starting to stabilize now. But of course we're at about 15 degrees of pitch, so it's not really good. No. Okay, I've seen enough. End the flight, vehicle assembly. So, our main challenge was not having enough speed at the beginning. If we can keep the central stack as it is, I know its thrust to weight ratio is very low, but if we're going at a relatively high speed by the time it kicks in, then that momentum will generally make up for our low thrust to weight ratio. So let me just see if I can't replicate the boosters. Doesn't have to be precise. You know, rocket science, it's not a precise science. I'm sure a lot of people are not agreeing with me. Of course, it's a precise science, but this is Kerbal Space Program we're talking about. Okay, is it going to go right through the fin? No. Alright. Just make sure everything is on the same stage. I don't know why it's putting these struts on their own stage. It's not like they are activated or anything. Okay, thank God of progress. Here we go. Don't blow up. Okay, it's stable. Let's see, the orbital speed is still the same, I think, 174.5 meters. Interesting little fact there. Alright, we've got 31 tanks on the first stage here. That's quite impressive, but how many engines? I don't know. Too many, but let's see. No time for fancy words. 3, 2, 1, go. Much better thrust this time. Up to 100 meters per second. Just have to keep it on that target there. Boosters are about to burn out. Hopefully we get above 10 kilometers. I don't know about the atmosphere. It's very soupy in this version of the game, but we have to get through it somehow. We haven't even broken the speed of sound yet. Ditch. And immediately we start dropping. But if we can just remain in that central position there, it's not going to drag us to the side. And we're still climbing, that's the important thing. Okay, I'm happy this time so far. I guess we'll just have to go up to about 30 kilometers maybe. It's very inefficient to start the turn so late, but we've got to deal with this low thrust to weight ratio. Okay, we're speeding up again. No. You want to go retrograde again. I see what you're doing. It's time to start pitching over. Good thing I have so many RCS thrusters on here. I really recommend, if you've never tried this version of the game, try it out. Just see how you get along. And then try the new version and see how they compare. I think it's an eye-opening experience. We still haven't breached the sound barrier. Okay. I'm struggling to turn over because we don't have any vectoring engines. Okay, it's better that we get rid of those and then ignite the second stage, which has 4 vectoring engines, of course. Okay, not too far, just there. Okay, something like that. Let's just see. We're staying pretty close to the abscess at the moment, but that's alright, our speed is still so low. Okay, no more than that, I think. No, it has these strange tendencies to suddenly just veer off to the side. Okay, we're approaching the abscess now. Our thrust to weight ratio is not high enough, so I must pitch up. You see, it's not keeping it anymore. Even though the SAS is activated, it's just ignoring the command to keep that position. Oh dear. 53. As soon as we get into the 70s, that's enough. No more than that. We don't need to overdo it. The race car is happening again. Okay, 60. Don't stop, don't stop. 62. Seven, 8, 9, and stop right there. Okay. We don't have much fuel left in this stage. I'm afraid that's probably going to be our undoing. Why is it just wanting to turn over like that? It's got no control whatsoever. You can see it's overwhelming the SAS force. I think that's the problem. Okay, the SAS force is dropping now. Strange thing, it's just too much for it to handle. And also the SAS doesn't use the RCS. I have to do that manually. I think we should start burning now, but I just hope this is not going to use all of our fuel. Okay, stop there, stop there. Okay, burn. As long as we get into orbit, we still stand a chance. 2 kilometers. 2.7. How are we doing? Okay, the central stack still has a lot of fuel, one of them anyway. I don't know which one is that. That is the central stack. I thought that one would burn out before the others, but obviously I was mistaken. Abscess is now almost at the correct level. Just get us high enough. And come on, why is it struggling so much? 16. And that one is totally out of balance. And 70. Cut the engine, cut the engine. Okay, done. So here we are in orbit. We've made it pretty much. The trans stage here is still intact. Obviously it didn't burn out the central stack first because we had an additional fuel tank there, so that's a really good thing, otherwise we would not have made orbit. The question now is just, do I ditch this stage now and just use the next one, or do I still try and use this bit of fuel? I think I just have to use that bit of fuel. Normally, if I knew I had a margin, I would just ditch this and just use the rest, because it just makes it simpler. But we have to do what we have to do. This time I'm going to also not forget the lesson of stopping the burn as soon as we get to the moon's orbit, because there's no indicator that will tell me that I'm at the desired position. There's no intercept indicator. And we have, how much RCS do we have? It's not even showing. Did I even... Is it gone already? No way. No way. Well, that is a bit of a problem. Okay. We just time warp. Okay. So I'll get back to you as soon as I'm ready for the burn. It's going to take a little while. Well, the moon is rising now, but I've got absolutely no control since I have no more RCS propellant left, and the SAS just completely ignores me. I can't actually turn. I can do it, you can see there's the force, but then it just holds that spot. So maybe if I actually start the engine, of course this is ridiculously bad, but it's the only way I can do it. Just a little bit of thrust. Good thing we've got this engine. We're probably gonna miss it again, but anyway. Good grief, come on now. Tip for next time, pack more RCS propellant. Ditch and ignite, maybe? Thank you. Okay. That should work better. We've got a vectoring engine now. Yes, I can see the difference. That was just too heavy. The the SAS just couldn't handle it. Let's just see, how are we getting along here? Okay, we must be very careful with the fuel now, because this is not only our trans stage, it's also our landing stage. That was definitely the problem of having too many RCS ports. Didn't really make a difference. The only thing they did was to drain our propellant much faster. Okay, we're not even halfway through the first set of tanks, so that's not too bad. Okay, getting ready to cut the engine. Almost. Now, okay, that's it. Much better than last time. I feel very hopeful about this one. I just have to also remember that the craft does not come out of time warp when it enters the moon's sphere of influence. So that's something to remember. And there's our home subcontinent, and the spaceport you can see is a huge square there. It stands out very clearly. Goodbye, Kerbal. Hope to see you again on the way back. I just hope I get some good music to put in here. Okay, 1,000. I'm not going to go higher than 1,000. That's more than enough. Moon, where are you? Okay, we slow down as we approach the apoapsis. At least the moon will remain stable, its speed, so it should be catching up to us very soon. I hope I didn't overdo this. Come on. You're late. No. Yep, okay, slow down. Okay, it worked out well. Very good. This time we're actually in a position to put ourselves into orbit before we land, which is of course a good thing, just to get some more time to think about things. So let me just approach the periapsis here at about 990,000 meters, more or less. Let me see if I can actually, okay, I can turn around. The SAS is strong enough to handle this, I think. Come on. Just have to turn off the lock there, otherwise it doesn't want to let me move. Alright. Okay, what view are we on? Orbital, chase, auto. Okay, that's better. There we go. And burn. Fuel. Halfway through the first set of 4 tanks, and then we still have 4 more left. So about a quarter of our fuel has been spent. Orbit. Excellent. Let's just get us a bit lower. say about 20, 25, around there I think. The lower the better actually, so let's say 20 or so. Okay, 15, fine, no problem there. Just have to start turning around. If I do it now, it will actually, no, I think I should stay in the same position because, no, I do want to turn around, that's right. I obviously want to get the retrograde vector by the time I get to the other side, so I have to turn around. And Bill and Bob are terrified out of their minds, but Jeb has his legendary high spirits. Alright, time to reach the other side of the moon. The other problem just here is our time warp is going to go very low. Maybe about 5 actually. Yep, 10 times now. No, this is less than desirable. By the time it's 15, it'll be 5, I think. That's the other problem I had last time. Yep, that's just not practical for a video, so I think as soon as I get into the orbit now, if I lower the apoapsis, I'll just skip ahead and then we can proceed with the landing. Something like that. And I'm facing the correct way, so there's no need to worry about turning around. Just hold that, please. It's gonna flip. Go. Alright, good. We have 13, that's fine. So, landing sites. It obviously has to be along the equator here. I'm not going to do an inclination change. So, let's actually try... Okay, that's too bright. This is what I was saying about the moon being too metallic, actually. We can just try to land inside this crater here. Kerbal will still be in view for us, so I think that'll be pretty epic. So I'm going to skip ahead until I reach about here, and then when I start the burn, I'll get back to you. Okay, we are there. Let me just turn us around quickly. That took a couple of minutes. I'm so glad they actually allow us now to time warp faster. And just get us there, more or less like that. Actually, we've got a lot of fuel. I feel very confident about this attempt. I think because we still have more than half in our landing stage, and then we have a separate upper stage, we are so gonna make it. Just get to maybe about a third into the crater. Just about there. Because as we of course go down, we're still going to change the trajectory here. Okay, we are set for landing. Now it's just a matter of time, and our very brave trio here, they float serenely above the moon. Everyone is happy except Bob. You can see he phases in and out of being unhappy, and then he's neutral, and he's not sure. You see, he's of course the cleverest of the three, so he can see all of the risks that we face. You can just speed it up a little bit. Now we're definitely going to make it. The only thing that we have to watch out for now is drifting when we come down, because we don't have RCS to cancel it. So it has to be a very nice straight down landing. And also the other thing is it must be less than 6 meters per second for the tanks to survive. And okay, I'm just bringing us out of time warp just so we can start preparing better. I wish we already had that track retrograde button on the side here. That makes landing so much easier, but you have to be very careful that it doesn't come to a stop and you start flipping. Okay, I waited too long here. Oh dear. Oh no, 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 no. Okay, just burn down. Oh, up, wrong way. Oh, crikey. This is bad. No, why did I wait so long? What's wrong with me? Oh no. Oh, bugger. Well, that ended in disaster, like I said before. Typical Kerbal fashion. Good grief. I can't believe that was such an amateur mistake. This game is really challenging me. Look, I think that's enough for this video. It's going to end in disaster. I never like ending on a low note like this, but hey, Kerbal Space Program is about the explosions and death and all of that. So, I didn't plan on making this into a series, but I might as well continue in another episode actually, and just I'll launch the same thing. I'll just start the video from the moon's orbit, I think. No way I can reload or anything. Failure is absolutely final. Oh well. Hope you've enjoyed, and I still recommend that you try out these old versions. They're much harder than they appear to be. So anyway, that's it from me. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.